Hello and welcome to another episode of Diabetes 180 with Bertus, your physician assistant and diabetes reversal health coach. Today we're talking about uprooting diabetes. Now, if you're a diabetic, at some point I'm sure you've researched how to reverse this disease, if it's possible to reverse this disease, because nobody wants to live with diabetes. And if you've researched how to reverse diabetes, you've probably come up very confused because there are many conflicting ideas and opinions on the best approach to best reverse this disease. And you know, of course, when you're already dealing with the frustration of this very frustrating disease, you know, it really can be overwhelming to find the truth behind the best way to reverse diabetes. So I want to make it very clear today, you know, while there are many different approaches, it can be simplified in two schools of thought, okay? And I'm going to give you a very simple analogy to remove some of that frustration, okay? So that you don't have to deal with what usually happens is that diabetic burnout, the what the heck effect, I'm going to die of something anyway. Let me just, give up. I don't want you to give up on yourself. So I want to give you a simple analogy. You know, depending on what you prefer, there are two ways to think about how to reverse diabetes. Okay, the first school of thought is this. So let's say you have a house that is new, beautiful house you just moved into, but there's an unsightly tree in the way, and you want to show off this house, but this tree is in the way. You got these huge branches, all these leaves. So the first school of thought to get rid of this tree that we're equating to diabetes is to trim the branches. Okay, so you could trim the branches, get some of the branches out of the way, and now you could see the house a lot better. It's immediate results, because when you trim the branches off the tree, you could see that the immediate effect, a better view of your house. This I equate to the carb-centered approach, the first school of thought for managing diabetes. The carb-centered approach is focusing on the immediate effect of controlling carbohydrate intake. So this is the low-carb diets, the keto diets that promote watching your carbs or, avoiding carbs altogether. Of course, this effect has its pros. The first pro advantage is that you can see results almost immediately as your blood sugar starts to get under control. The drawback to this approach is that the tree is still there. The disease is still there. And because the disease is still there, you're always going to have to be counting carbs and avoiding carbs and for the rest of your life, essentially, because the disease really doesn't go away in a sense. It's still there. It's just being under control. It's being maintained. Okay, as soon as you stop cutting the branches, right, trimming the tree, lowering your carbs, you start to see the results pretty quickly too. The second school of thought is a school of thought that I prefer. That is to uproot the tree altogether. Now, this school of thought does take more work, okay, and it does take a little longer, but the results are longer lasting. You see, uprooting the tree, you have to get to the core of the disease. This is the saturated fat-centered approach. That is getting rid of the fat that is locked into tissues not designed to store extra fat. If you didn't watch last week's video, definitely watch last week's video. We talked a lot about that in that video. So if you decrease the amount of saturated fat in your diet, it takes time, but over time, slowly, you're going to be uprooting that unsightly tree until the tree is gone. It may take longer for some it takes days. For some of my clients, my wife in particular took 6 weeks, but my clients who consistently watch their saturated fat intake from days to weeks, they start to see a drastic improvement in their numbers. And not only that, but they're eating in a way that promotes health and longevity, and not just diabetes, but heart disease, cancer risk. The list goes on in chronic conditions that are benefited from this approach. Okay, so there's two schools of thought: trim the branches or uproot the whole tree. Okay, the choice is yours. But Diabetes 180, we're in the business of not just trimming branches, but uprooting diabetes, getting rid of the disease and this unsightly condition from your life. So if that's your desire, if you want help, then definitely reach out to me. We give free consultations. Just visit the link in the description section below, and I would love to help you out, okay? And as always, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. See you next week.